It's foldable season, and I've got the two latest flip-style phones to check out. Samsung's looking to redeem itself after last year, but Motorola's not going down that easy. This is the Galaxy Z Flip 6 and Razr Plus 2024 photo shootout. Just like my other videos, I've captured over 200 photos between them to see how they compare in different scenarios, to see which is the best phone for photography. However, there's a huge difference between them because the Razr Plus drops its ultra-wide camera entirely, replaced by a dual camera setup that now consists of a 50 megapixel main camera and a 50 megapixel telephoto with 2x optical zoom. Meanwhile, the Z Flip 6 gets its own upgrade to a new 50 megapixel main camera paired with a 12 megapixel ultra-wide. I know which setup I prefer, but let me know which one you choose, a telephoto camera or an ultra-wide. Of course, I previewed all the photos on my computer, so that way I can better pixel peep each one of them for a fair comparison. And with that, let's begin. On bright sunny days, these two couldn't be any similar because they take excellent photos with their main cameras. Frankly, it could sway either way, but in these shots, I see the slightly better results with the Razr Plus. The picture's a smidge brighter, but it also pulls in sharper details. Only by a little bit though. I can see it in the license plate from the car on the left side, as well as a sign across the building in the background. The sunset in the far background is exposed evenly by two, so much so that the reds, greens, and blues in the surrounding sky are nicely represented. In the foreground, however, I like that the Razr Plus does a little bit better job at boosting the shadowed areas in and around the rocks, and for that reason, I'm giving it to Motorola. For their selfie cameras, you have a 10 megapixel front-facing one in the Z Flip 6 and an even larger 32 megapixel one in the Razr Plus. This is a perfect example of how more megapixels doesn't always translate to better results because these selfies I shot of myself have better qualities with the Samsung. Not only does it have better dynamic range, but there's more definition in my face and shirt. The Razr Plus fails in the highlights with the building in the background and the sky being overblown. Moving on to portrait mode, both flip phones managed to isolate the focus on me, and I'm impressed they don't mess up around my sunglasses either, which tends to be a challenge. Samsung's a little too aggressive with the saturation for my liking, which gives me an extra deep tan. Luckily, the Razr Plus does a better job and realistically gets my skin tone just right. But I also like how it applies more sharpness to better define some of my facial features. Colors can go either way depending on your preference. I can see extra saturation applied to the pinks and reds with the Razr Plus, which isn't bad in my opinion because it makes the colors pop more, but I do know it's not as true to life as what the Galaxy Z Flip 6 produces. I also prefer how it casts a stronger high contrast look. Oddly enough, neither phone has a dedicated macro mode, and that's despite the Flip 6 having an ultra-wide camera, which is what's normally used for them. Instead, I shot these close-ups of this flower in the garden, and let me tell you, they look stunning. I made sure to place the focus and exposure in the center of the flower, but the Z Flip 6 gets my attention for the amount of detail it pulls in. The Motorola is still pretty good at this too, but it doesn't get quite the same sharpness as the Samsung. Now, this is where things get interesting because the Razr Plus inherently has an advantage because it has a dedicated 50 megapixel telephoto camera with 2x optical zoom. The Flip 6 doesn't have one, so it relies on the main camera for all the zooming. I will admit though, the pixel binning techniques it's doing delivers reasonable optical light quality. Now it's hard to see which has the advantage in these 2x zoom photos of this front door, but when I zoom into the photos, I can better make out the scratches around the white door and the smaller details in the bricks with the Razr Plus. I do want to point out here that the details of the welcome wreath with the Flip 6 has better sharpness. At 4x zoom, these differences become more apparent as more of the texture in the bricks are more visible with the Razr's 2x optical zoom camera. But I wouldn't say it's a tremendous difference. Even though the Razr outright wins here, I have to applaud Samsung for coming close despite not having a dedicated zoom camera. Even without nitpicking the fine details, I can tell that the Flip 6 is more suitable at capturing panoramas. You can actually use either the main and ultra-wide cameras for capturing them, while you're just isolated to the Razr Plus's main one. The Razr Plus suffers from the softer details with the rocks on the jetty, along with how it can't properly expose the setting sun in the sky. The Galaxy Z Flip 6 does a much better job overall and perfectly captures all the colors of the sunset with ease. For low light, I was in my backyard for these photos, and I'm not surprised by the results because Samsung has historically been better at this than Motorola. Aside from my neighbor's floodlight in his backyard in the far background, the immediate area in front of me doesn't have any ambient light. While the Razr does okay at brightening the area, it's nowhere close to the magic that the Samsung casts with the Flip 6. Really, it's a night and day difference between them, which shows off the low light superiority of Samsung. Everything's brighter, including the grass in front of me and all the leaves in the branches. After tallying in the results, the Galaxy Z Flip 6 comes out on top by a narrow margin. I really didn't expect the Razr Plus to perform as good as it did, but it goes to show that Motorola is closing the gap and it's a much more satisfying upgrade. I was surprised by how well its main camera performed because I honestly thought the Flip 6 would incrementally be better. But while the Razr has a dedicated optical zoom lens, I have to give credit to the Flip 6 getting excellent results with its zooming abilities. Additionally, the other reason why I think the Flip 6 is better because its ultra-wide camera lets me take better group photos and vlogs, especially paired with its flex window display. I also like how it offers full manual controls with video, which the Razr Plus can't do. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to watch all our videos, our unboxings, reviews, and our photo shootouts in our channel. Follow us on social @TomsGuide. I'm John V, and I'll see you in my next video.